Welcome to the Narrated Vendetta. We bring you gripping tales of payback, justice, and reckoning. Let's begin.
The words landed like a heavy blow in the hushed elegance of the upscale restaurant we had gathered to celebrate my daughter's graduation from university, but instead, my husband of 28 years, Marcus, stood with his champagne glass raised, interrupting the planned toast to our daughter. "Chloe, I've decided to start a new life without you." The silence in the room was deafening. 50 pairs of eyes flicked between Marcus and me, anticipating tears, shouting, a spectacle. I offered them none. Instead, I smiled faintly. "Congratulations on your honesty. My name is Eliza Fawn. I am 54 years old, and until this moment, I had been the perfect, devoted wife and mother. For nearly 3 decades, I had sacrificed my own career aspiration, navigating Marcus through 3 business failures, to career changes, and countless existential crises. I had raised our brilliant daughter, Chloe, who sat beside me, her graduation cap still in place, her expression frozen in shock. In the corner, I could see Serena Hayes, Marcus's significantly younger girlfriend, shifting nervously at a back table. She was seated with people I had considered friends for decades, the same friends who apparently knew about the affair but kept silent. Serena had attended our holiday parties. She had even called me for career advice. With deliberate calm, I reached into my handbag and retrieved a cream-colored envelope. I placed it beside Marcus's plate. "What's this?" he asked, his triumphant look faltering. "Something for you to read later," I replied, my voice steady. I turned to Chloe, whose face was pale. I kissed her cheek. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. This day is still about your accomplishment." I stood, smoothed my dress, and addressed our stunned guests. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." With that, I walked out, my head held high, the heavy restaurant door swinging shut behind me, cutting off the anxious murmurs. Outside, the Atlanta summer heat was stifling. But for the first time in years, I felt a liberating surge of adrenaline. I could breathe. The restaurant door slammed open behind me. "Eliza, what the hell is this? What have you done?" Marcus's voice was frantic, no longer confident. I kept walking, allowing myself a small, knowing smile. The envelope contained the beginning of my revenge plan, meticulously crafted over months. In our marriage, I had always been the practical one, while Marcus chased risky ventures. I ensured our family's financial stability. I saved for Chloe's education when Marcus invested unwisely. I worked extra hours as a financial manager at Astra Financial when his midlife crisis led him to quit his stable job to pursue a fleeting passion for selling handcrafted furniture. My own dream opening a financial consultancy for women was perpetually deferred. 3 months ago, I noticed discrepancies in our joint account, small, unusual transfers to an unrecognized account. As someone who had managed our family's finances for 20 years, these irregularities were glaring. I didn't confront Marcus. Instead, I quietly investigated. What I discovered was far worse than an affair. Marcus had been systematically moving substantial funds to a separate account for over a year. He was taking Serena to exclusive resorts, buying her expensive jewelry, and looking at beachfront property, all while insisting we needed to tighten our belts for retirement. Then came the texts I found when he left his phone unlocked, messages about their new life together, about him finally breaking free, and their plans for the day after Chloe's graduation, the day he had chosen for his grand exit. Marcus had forgotten, or perhaps never understood, that I had been a financial professional for 30 years. I knew how to trace assets, and crucially, I remembered the prenuptial agreement we signed 28 years ago. Ironically, the agreement he insisted upon contained a fidelity clause that would prove to be his undoing, while Marcus plotted his escape. I built my case. I consulted with attorneys, documented every hidden transfer, and gathered evidence of the affair. I prepared the divorce papers, timing everything perfectly. Marcus wanted to wait until after Chloe's graduation. He never expected me to serve the papers the morning of the event, with the papers still safely hidden in court records. Marcus didn't know I was always 3 steps ahead. I didn't return to the restaurant. Instead, I drove to our home, a spacious, colonial in Atlanta's historic district. The house Marcus had already promised to Serena. According to the texts I had seen, I entered our shared space. Everything looked the same, the family photos, the antique clock, the worn leather couch. Yet everything had changed. Upstairs, I opened the master bedroom closet. Marcus's clothing was packed in suitcases, hidden in the back, ready for his planned departure tomorrow. I smiled at his predictability. He was always meticulous about clothing but careless about the important things. My phone buzzed incessantly with messages from friends, from Chloe, even from Marcus's sister, Eleanor. I only replied to my daughter, "I'm okay, this isn't your burden to carry. Enjoy your graduation day, we'll talk tonight, I love you." I had protected Chloe from the truth for months, not wanting to overshadow her final semester. I knew she would be angry, but I also knew she would understand eventually. 3 hours later, I heard Marcus's car in the driveway. The front door slammed open. "Eliza," he shouted, his voice echoing. "Where are you?" I was sitting in the living room, calmly reviewing documents on my laptop. I closed it as he stormed in. His face flushed with rage, the envelope clutched in his hand. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, waving the papers. "You served me with divorce papers today. Of all days, I thought it aligned nicely with your plans," I replied calmly. "You wanted to start your new life. I'm simply helping facilitate the transition." "You had no right." "I had every right," I interrupted, my voice steady. "Just as you had every right to choose Serena. We all make choices, Marcus. The prenup expired years ago," he said, his voice suddenly smug. "Any lawyer will tell you that." I allowed myself a small smile. "Actually, it didn't. Section 12 specifically states that the fidelity clause remains in effect for the duration of the marriage. Your lawyer should have explained that to you." "Oh wait, you didn't consult one, did you?" The color drained from his face as reality sank in. The prenup he had insisted upon to protect his potential wealth would now cost him everything. The house, the vacation property in Asheville, his portion of our retirement accounts, his grand gesture at the restaurant had just become the most expensive announcement of his life. "You can't do this to me," Marcus said, collapsing onto the couch. "We build this life together," I replied, "and you chose to end it, though not in the way you planned." Marcus's phone buzzed persistently. He glanced at it, then ignored it. Serena, no doubt, was wondering where he was. "You've always been calculating, Eliza, but this is cold," he said. "Shifting tactics. What about our history? 28 years together." "Means nothing." I studied him, this man I had loved for nearly 3 decades. "Our history meant everything to me," I answered truthfully. "That's why your betrayal hurt so deeply." His expression softened momentarily. "Then maybe we can fix this. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Marcus. This was a calculated plan spanning more than a year. You systematically moved our money. You looked at property with her. You planned to announce our separation publicly to humiliate me." His face hardened again. "You're exaggerating." "Am I?" I picked up my phone, opened the recording app, and played his own voice. "After the graduation, I'll tell her it's over. A public setting is better. She won't make a scene in front of everyone." Then Serena's voice, "And she has no idea about the money." Marcus again, "None. Eliza trusts me completely. That's her weakness." The blood drained from his face. "You recorded our conversations. That's illegal." Not in Georgia when one party consents, I responded. And not when it's in your own home. I didn't record your private moments with Serena. I'm not cruel, just the conversations about your plans. To defraud me. Double quotes. Marcus stood, agitated. I need to make some calls. Of course, I said, your attorney might be a good start. I'll be staying at Eleanor's tonight. Eleanor's? He sputtered. My sister's house. I nodded. She's quite upset with you. Actually, she was the one who first spotted you and Serena together last Christmas. She confronted you first. When she realized you hadn't ended it, she came to me. This was another blow he hadn't anticipated. Eleanor and I had always been close, but Marcus never imagined his own sister would choose my side. Everyone's betraying me, he muttered. Ironic, isn't it? I gathered my purse and a small overnight bag. You have until tomorrow evening to remove your things from the house. After that, the locks will be changed. As I headed toward the door, Marcus called after me, desperation in his voice. What about Chloe? Have you thought about how this affects her? I paused, anger finally breaking through my calm facade. Don't you dare use our daughter as a shield, Marcus. You certainly weren't thinking about her when you were planning your new beachfront life with Serena. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked at it and groaned. Problem? I asked. Serena is at the apartment already. She's moved her things in. I couldn't help but smile. The apartment you put in both your names, the lease you signed last month. Marcus nodded, looking confused. You might want to check with the leasing office. That application was flagged for credit issues and never completed. The agent called our home phone to verify information. I handled it myself. I walked out the door, leaving Marcus to face the first of many consequences. His perfectly planned new life was unraveling faster than he could process. Eleanor lived in a charming bungalow across town, close to the university where she taught literature when I arrived. She greeted me with a fierce hug. I just heard from Chloe, she said, pulling me inside. Are you okay? I'm better than I expected, I admitted, following her to the kitchen where a bottle of wine was already open. I never thought Marcus would make such a spectacle, Eleanor said, pouring 2 glasses. The restaurant, in front of everyone. He's lost his mind. It was meant to humiliate me, I explained, accepting the glass, a public rejection, so I couldn't fight back without looking hysterical. Eleanor's face darkened. My brother always did have a flair for drama, but this is beyond anything I expected from him. We settled in her sunroom. Eleanor had never married, preferring her independence and academic pursuits. I had sometimes envied her freedom. What did you put in that envelope that made him so upset? She asked. I explained. The divorce filing, the evidence of his financial deception, and the prenuptial agreement that would leave him with far less than he had planned. The prenup, Eleanor mused. I remember when he insisted on it. Father had just given him that money for his first business, and he was so worried about protecting it. She laughed bitterly. The irony is delicious. My phone rang. Chloe. I took a deep breath before answering. Mom, she said immediately, her voice strained. I'm coming over to Aunt Eleanor's. Honey, you don't have to. I'm already on my way. She interrupted. Dad is telling everyone you've lost your mind, that you've been planning this for months. He's saying horrible things. Of course he was. Marcus always rewrote narratives to cast himself as the victim. Let him talk, I said. The truth will become clear soon enough. 20 minutes later, Chloe arrived, still in her graduation dress, but with her makeup smudged from crying. She fell into my arms. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice muffled against my shoulder. I didn't want to ruin your final semester, I explained. You worked so hard for this day. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Well, Dad took care of ruining it anyway. We moved to Eleanor's living room, where Chloe finally got the full story, how I had discovered the affair, the financial deceptions, and the plans Marcus and Serena had made. I knew something was off with Dad, Chloe admitted. He's been different, distracted. Always on his phone. But I never imagined. None of us want to see these things in people we love. Eleanor said gently. My phone buzzed with a text message from Daniel Rolfe, my attorney. The emergency filing had been approved. The accounts I had identified were frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Marcus now had limited access to funds enough for living expenses, but not enough to follow through on the property purchases he had planned with Serena. I showed the message to Eleanor and Chloe. Good, Chloe said firmly. He deserves it. My daughter's loyalty warmed me, but I wasn't naive. He's still your father, I reminded her. Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us. Chloe shook her head. Maybe someday, but right now, I can't even look at him. He hugged me this morning and told me how proud he was, all while planning to blow up our family. Hours later, the doorbell rang. Eleanor went to answer it. Returning moments later with a troubled expression, "It's Marcus," she said, "and he's not alone." I steeled myself as Eleanor led Marcus and Serena into the living room. Serena looked uncomfortable, her eyes darting around the room. She was 37, 17 years my junior, with the kind of confidence that comes from never having faced real hardship. Marcus, by contrast, looked furious. "Eliza, you need to stop this insanity." He demanded, "Unfreeze the accounts, we can discuss this." Like reasonable adults, Chloe stood up, placing herself slightly in front of me. "Maybe you should have tried being reasonable before announcing to everyone that you were leaving Mom." Marcus's eyes widened as if just noticing our daughter. "Chloe, this doesn't involve you." "Doesn't involve me," she echoed incredulously. "You blew up our family on my graduation day, and it doesn't involve me." Serena touched Marcus's arm. "Greg, maybe we should go." He shook her off. "No, I'm not leaving until Eliza agrees to be rational about this." Eleanor folded her arms. "My sister-in-law seems to be the only rational person in this scenario. You're the one who created this mess, Marcus." I remained seated, watching the drama unfold. For years, I had been the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over conflicts. That role was exhausting, and I had finally set it down. The accounts will remain frozen until the preliminary hearing. I said calmly, "That's in 3 days. The judge will determine appropriate asset division at that time." 3 days, Marcus sputtered. "What am I supposed to do for 3 days?" "You have your personal account," I reminded him. "The one you've been funneling money into for the past year. That should be sufficient." Serena's head whipped toward Marcus. "You have a separate account. With how much in it?" An interesting dynamic was emerging. Clearly, Marcus hadn't been entirely forthcoming with Serena either. Marcus ignored her question. "This is vindictive, Eliza. This isn't like you. Perhaps you never really knew me." I replied, just as I apparently never really knew you. Chloe turned to Serena. "Did you know he was going to announce it like that at my graduation celebration?" Serena had the decency to look ashamed. I thought he was going to talk to your mother privately." "The announcement today was unexpected," Marcus shot her betrayed look. Cracks were already forming in their united front. "I think you both should leave," Eleanor said firmly. "You've upset Chloe enough for one day." "Chloe," Marcus pleaded, "you understand that relationships change, don't you? Sometimes people grow apart." My daughter's face hardened in a way I had never seen before. "What I understand is that you're a coward who couldn't even give Mom the dignity of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 jobs to help pay for my textbooks because you said money was tight." Marcus paled. "That's not how it was." "It's exactly how it was." Chloe cut him off. "Please leave, Dad. I can't look at you right now." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Marcus turned to go, Serena trailing behind him. At the door, he paused and looked back at me. "This isn't over, Eliza. I'll fight you on this." I met his gaze steadily. "You're welcome to try." After they left, Chloe collapsed next to me on the sofa, tears streaming down her face. "I've never talked to Dad like that." I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. "Sometimes standing up for what's right is painful." Eleanor brought us fresh glasses of wine. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her glass. Indeed, I thought. This ending was just the beginning of something new. The preliminary hearing took place in a small courtroom on a rainy Tuesday morning. I arrived with my attorney, Daniel Rolfe, while Marcus came with a lawyer. He had hastily retained a young associate from a firm that specialized in corporate law, not family matters. Marcus's poor choice of representation was yet another consequence of his rushed planning. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes and no patience for dramatics, reviewed the prenuptial agreement carefully. "This document appears to be in order," she said, looking over her reading glasses at Marcus's attorney. "Do you contest its validity?" The young lawyer cleared his throat. "Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired due to the length of time that has passed. Section 18 clearly states that the duration is for the term of the marriage plus any legal proceedings resulting from its dissolution." The judge read aloud. "There is no expiration date indicated." Marcus leaned forward to whisper urgently to his lawyer, who looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "the evidence of systematic fund transfers appears to violate the financial disclosure requirements in Section 23. She shuffled through the papers, then looked up. "I am ruling to maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full financial discovery. Mr. Thorne's personal account will remain accessible to him. The family home will remain in Mrs. Thorne's possession during proceedings, as stipulated in the prenuptial agreement's infidelity clause." Marcus's face flushed dark red. "This is outrageous," he muttered loud enough for me to hear. The judge fixed him with a stern look. "Mr. Thorne, I suggest you review the agreement you signed more carefully. This court will reconvene in 30 days for the full hearing after discovery is complete." As we left the courtroom, Marcus caught up to me in the hallway. "Eliza, please. We need to talk about this reasonably. 28 years together has to count for something." "It counted for everything," I replied, "until you decided it didn't." I walked away, leaving him standing alone in the courthouse corridor, the weight of his choices finally beginning to sink in. Word spread quickly through our social circle. Friends called daily, some offering support, others seeking gossip. I maintained a dignified silence about the details, simply saying, "Marcus and I are separating. These things happen." Meanwhile, Marcus's carefully constructed facade was crumbling. The image he had cultivated, successful businessman, devoted family man, was tarnished beyond repair. The financial freeze meant he couldn't follow through on promises made to Serena. The beachfront property they had been planning to purchase fell through. The luxury car he had put a deposit on had to be cancelled. 2 weeks after the hearing, Eleanor called me, her voice tinged with amusement. "Have you heard the latest? Serena moved out already." I wasn't entirely surprised, but the speed was impressive. Apparently, she discovered that Marcus's business isn't doing as well as he claimed. The substantial savings he talked about don't exist. She told her friend Jennifer that she didn't sign up to date a man with financial problems. I couldn't help but laugh. He always was good at creating illusions. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. The financial security I had maintained separately gave me freedom Marcus hadn't anticipated. I rented a small office space downtown and began setting up the consultancy I had dreamed about for years, Thorne Financial Strategies. My first clients were 2 women going through divorces of their own. Word of mouth brought more. I specialized in helping women understand their finances during major life transitions, divorces, widowhood, career changes. The work was immediately fulfilling in a way my corporate job never had been. Chloe, who had accepted a job with a marketing firm in Charleston, called me regularly. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," she told me after I described my growing client list. "You're helping people during their worst moments. I'm just doing what I wish someone had done for me earlier." I replied, preparing women for whatever might come. Being needed for my expertise rather than my caregiving was a novel and empowering experience. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 29th anniversary, a fitting end to a chapter of my life that had lasted nearly 3 decades. Marcus arrived looking haggard. I later learned that his business was struggling without my financial support and guidance. Serena was long gone, already dating a real estate developer. Most of our mutual friends had distanced themselves from him after learning the full story of his deception. The judge upheld the prenuptial agreement in its entirety. Marcus left with his personal possessions, his struggling business, and the money in his private account which, after paying his attorney, was barely enough to secure a small apartment. I retained our home, my retirement accounts, and 70% of our joint investments, exactly as the prenuptial agreement stipulated in cases of infidelity. The justice was poetic. The very document Marcus had insisted upon to protect himself had become his downfall. As we left the courtroom, Marcus approached me one last time. "I made a terrible mistake," he said quietly. "Is there any chance we could?" "No," I interrupted, gentle but firm. "That door is closed." "I understand," he replied, and for once I believed he did. "I hope you find happiness, Eliza. You deserve it." It was perhaps the first honest thing he had said to me in years. 6 months later, Thorn Financial Strategies was thriving. I had moved from the small office to a larger space and hired 2 associates. Amelia visited often, proud of what I had built. "You know what's ironic?" she said during one visit. "If Dad had just been honest from the beginning, he might have kept half of everything. Sometimes people can't see beyond what they want in the moment," I replied. The woman who had once defined herself as Marcus's wife and Chloe's mother had discovered a new identity: mentor, business owner, and advocate. The envelope I had handed Marcus at the restaurant hadn't just been my escape plan, it had been the key to a door I never knew existed. Behind it, I found not just revenge, but reinvention. In securing my financial future, I had also reclaimed something far more valuable: myself.